Well, good morning and welcome to everyone onto this webinar this morning. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time. Just a little bit of background on Murray & Nicol. Murray & Nicol is an accounting and financial planning firm that's long been established in the southeast of South Australia. So we've got three main offices, one in Bordertown, one in Narrabri, one in Murray Bridge. We visit a lot of regional towns between there. There's 6 directors or owners of our business and about a team of about 60 people. So today what we're going to be looking at is some of the services we've been providing for a long time in terms of cash flow budgeting, succession planning, farm purchase planning, ongoing farm management, and advisory board work. Within all of this work, we require really good facts, really clear information coming from your existing accounting software and also within planning to go forward with so that we can have good information to make good decisions to run our businesses as well as we can. So today we've got Ben McConnell particularly presenting on Figured, which is a software package that allows us to provide these facts to make really good decisions to run our business as well. So hopefully you get some value out of today's session. And yeah, any questions along the way, there'll be a chance to ask questions, and there'll be follow-up after the meeting, so you can make contact with us if you'd like a hand or like to know more. But yeah, really appreciate you jumping on today, and I'll hand over to Ben to go through the session.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks everyone for joining. Also, we've got Sarah and Will Lowe joining in as well. They're sort of local farmers and very popular people amongst the community, and we're sort of very interested to hear their journey sort of before they use Figured and after it. And we've also got Matt McLaughlin as well, who's representing Figured, and he might just speak to what they do after. And so, firstly, I guess the webinar is called Planning with Purpose, right? So what does that actually mean? So I guess planning, the easiest way to think about it is we're wanting to be proactive rather than reactive. And it's something that, you know, Sarah and Will and I have had a bit of a chat to recently, and very excited to hear how they've been doing or being proactive. Often, I guess, when we're being reactive, it's much easier to get caught in the day-to-day. And we always say that we get to the planning next week or next month, but it never comes, and all of a sudden we're wondering why things have suddenly become a bit, I guess, chaotic. We get that sense of, you know, a lack of control. So it's really important that we're making and dedicating time to actually sit down and make a plan and figure out, you know, what it is we're actually trying to achieve and how we go about it. And we use a number of tools, and Figured plays a big part in that. And then sort of planning with purpose, I guess, what are we actually trying to achieve? What are our goals? So it could be expansion, could be buying dirt, could be debt reduction, could be employing staff to reduce your own labour hours, or it could even be getting a shack down the coast like the Lowe family do. The point is, whatever the purpose is, it's important that we're really clear on what it is you actually want to achieve with your business, and then it's working backwards from there, step by step, I guess, to the best way to deliver on that purpose. And so practically, how that works from our perspective as advisors is we're probably just another player in your team, and we'll hear from Sarah and Lowe as well. But, you know, good farming businesses have their own team. So we're talking us as accountants, they'll have a bank manager, you know, a agronomist, and all those sort of players, and all working to sort of help them achieve their goals. But the important thing is being proactive and seeking out that advice. And then, I guess, combining the farming and finance. You guys are farmers, you've got understanding of the land, the crops, livestock, the seasons. It's all on the back of years of farming. We're going to hear from Sarah and Will, obviously, and Will's a 4th generation farmer. And so farmers have obviously got that instinct that works because you've lived it. But then our role, how we merge it all together, is to just complement your farm experience by bringing some, I guess, clarity and insight, whether that be through just a sounding board or advice, or on an ad hoc basis, or a more systematic way of using tools like Figured. And then Figured really helps you paint a picture of how your farming enterprise is tracking at any given time, and then gives you the ability to benchmark against those numbers. And so, Matt, I think we're going to launch a quick poll before we rip into our discussion with Sarah and Will Lowe.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just gone ahead and launched that now. And if you just want to flip forward a couple of slides, Ben, as you move through it. Really just keen to get a gauge where everyone's at in terms of their experience with planning and budgeting today before we kick through.
Am I on the right? Am I there?
We can just see planning with purpose still. Just stuck on that.
Sorry.
This one. There we go. Yeah, discussion with the lows. Cool. So that poll should be up on your screen now, everyone. Just if you haven't clicked through that yet, go ahead and then I'll share the results. Wicked. Looks like most people have added that. I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So you should be able to see those up there as well, Ben. So it looks like most people are planning in some capacity, whether it be ad hoc or a formal planning with a board of advice in place. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's really good to see. Thanks, everyone. And so now I guess we're going to introduce Sarah and Will Lowe, who I guess clients of Murray & Ankeville who have been using Figured for a while now. And Sarah, I guess, is the sort of admin and finance manager, and Will's a sort of up and comer farm manager that's sort of the next, I guess, succession in line. So if you could just, firstly, thanks Sarah and Will for participating, but if you could just give us a little bit of background about yourselves and your farming story.
Thanks, Ben.
No worries. So we've got 3 generations of us on the farm now. My grandpa, father, myself. We farm about 10 k's south of Mundalla. Got about 4,000 acres of crop with 1,500 acres to pasture, running 3,000 merino ewes. And they just go into merino rams and Suffolk rams. We grow wheat, beans, canola, barley, lupins, balança, and we do some hay as well. So just using Figured for forecasting with our crops, looking into the future, forecasting machinery purchases, and could also use it for looking at purchases of land or lease. Not that we're doing that now, but it's a great tool for that.
Yeah, cool. And so if we just take it back or rewind, Sarah, have you always been a planning family in terms of your business before Figured?
Absolutely, definitely planners, except I am well aware that in the past we were mainly probably planning with notebooks and pads and then using spreadsheets on the computer. But definitely in the last few years since Will's been home, more so we wanted the flexibility that all parties, like my husband, Will's father, and I and Will can all access, which Figured provides. So we're finding Figured way more flexible. We found using spreadsheets less flexible. And the other, like another constraint that we used to find was we weren't able to put extra little notes next to the consultants or extra little notes next to fertilizer or in the system we were using. But yeah, definitely planning has been in our business for a while. May have been ad hoc, and now we are very much on the pulse. I hope that answers it.
Yeah. And then Will, I guess, speaking to your father, there's a lot of that partial plan that's eliminated those sort of things.
Just finding that we can look at figures further into the future and do it more accurately. And
I'll add to that in the fact that now we are visiting those plans and our budgets definitely monthly. We probably didn't do it as often in the past, but pulling the actuals through every month, we're all visiting that straight away, and then we can say, is the purse open or is the purse closed? And it is so much more, gives us so much more clarity, incredibly.
Yeah, cool. And then so who, like in terms of your farming, I guess, structure, like your external advisors, who do you sort of lean into that's outside of the family for advice?
For us, we have the big four. So we use our accountants, which are Murray & Ankeville. We also have a really great relationship with our bank. Our agro is on tap 24/7, and we have a great benchmarking team externally as well. And so we definitely feel comfortable going to all four, any four, 1, 2, whenever we want to. And by having this program, we basically are way more articulate on what we're actually trying to achieve with our business.
Yeah, great. And then banks, have you, I guess your relationship with your bank manager, have you had much feedback from the banks with your sort of budgeting and that sort of thing from them?
Oh, definitely. So, like, let's say in the last few years, we've had some purchases and like capital purchases. And just recently, we had the bank manager at our kitchen table, and I just want to read a little bit of a quote from him because he nailed it. And so, when I talk about clarity, when we talk about purpose, when we talk about articulation, this is what he said. Like he actually said, this is exactly what we want, and a bank needs to see your financials. We want to see your budgets and your actuals, and this is a great tool to display your bookwork. Because basically, and this is the bank manager's quote, basically it all comes back to the ease of dealing with a client who is organised and has their finger on the pulse of their business.
They want to know that you've got direction.
Yeah.
It gives you direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess the last couple of you started on Figured, Sarah, yourself. How did you initially find out about it?
Well, I was very lucky because our accountant was at our house, kitchen table again, and Laurie and I were trying to get around how we were budgeting using a tool, of course. And he just went, I reckon there's a more simple tool that we have offered with our accounting firm, which is Figured. And luckily, we had got it. We are really open to change and adapting, and it's just been brilliant. Really can't say. The ease and the flexibility has made us definitely finger on the pulse now with our business.
Yeah, and I guess it's sort of getting everything in the one spot, isn't it? Sort of outside, out of the notes that are in the car or the header. I think that exact mean. I think Matt came back and telling a funny story how Loey sort of got his agronomy printout saying these should be in here, and then sort of trying to cross match things in Excel and then your accounting software and then paper notes. It's sort of, I guess it's good to sort of localize as much as possible into the one source.
Yes.
And then, so I guess in terms of the succession, Will, you're sort of you're relatively new to Figured, is that right?
Yeah, I'm very new to Figured. Probably started looking at it about 6 months ago.
Yeah. So Sarah's trying to palm off a bit of workload. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I probably firstly started looking at Xero and just looking at our accounts that were getting sent through monthly and just looking over all of our costs, and then that just sort of led into looking at Figured. And yeah, I've sort of haven't really done too much with the program. I've definitely looked at it a little bit just to see what's going on with our business and where we're sitting and how we can improve and what we're looking at doing over the next few months. But yeah, I haven't done too much with it, but yeah, I'm learning it. I've been picking it up. Like last night, I just logged onto it and added all of our farm paddocks and properties and all of our hectares and where they all are and what they're all doing. And that only took me an hour and a half at 11 o'clock at night. It wasn't that hard. So I'm finding it pretty easy to pick up. Yeah.
And the one thing I was going to add to that is the boys know a lot more about the size of our business and the commodities that we're all doing. That's definitely not my forte. However, Will can already see with this package, which I'm not even leaning into, inventory, I suppose budgeting and forecasting cropping for different properties and the livestock enterprise, like that's the boys' stuff, but at least this one package provides for all of that.
Yeah, since I've been looking at it, certainly been finding a few more aspects that we could be using, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. So I guess as a beginner, have you found it's pretty easy to navigate?
Yeah, it's quite easy to navigate. You can't get too far lost in it. It's pretty easy to just get back to the dashboard and be looking at what you should be looking at. If you think you've delved into something too far, you one thing that I found, I was a bit nervous if I was going to be mucking around looking at it and trying to teach myself a little bit about how to use it. I was nervous that I was going to, I don't know, put the wrong figure in or mess something up. But you can do little trials and different things with forecasts, and yeah, you can log on to it and not mess everything up like we might have in the past with Excel.
We were.
And then mum
You
back
say you're a
3 hours
That's
trying to
right.
work out what I've done.
Yeah. Where's that
you say
gone?
you're a bloody working 11 o'clock. I've got 2 kids under 3. If I'm working 11 o'clock, I'm making mistakes left, right, and centre.
Yes.
And so I guess benchmarking, do you use Figured for that sort of thing as well? Like, it's really good for the cash flow budgeting side of things. Do you use the trackers to track your livestock or crops or any of that sort of aspect of it?
We haven't yet.
Nice.
But this is probably where I'm coming into play with it a little bit, because I do understand where all the costs are coming from and can align them to each part of the business. That's probably why I've been brought on board with this as much as anything. I've got an understanding of each cost. So we haven't yet, but yeah, we have been using external advisors for that at the minute.
Yeah. And I definitely, even on the dashboard, we have those KPIs, and I can't actually tell you what other things they are, but that to me is recognizing that farming is dead set a business, and we need to treat ourselves as business owners and operators, and we're working. We're not just breaking even. We're working because we're a business.
Yeah, I can't completely agree. Matt, do you have anything to add on that in terms of farming as a business? Matt, right?
Yeah, no, I've got you, Ben. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's, some people say it's a lifestyle, and I go, well, yeah, that's great. But if we're, to me, it's such a rewarding business, because we've got such a long process to produce a result. You know, and so many other businesses, the plumber rocks up and he fixes the job on the site, gets possibly paid on the day, but he's out in and out of there in a few hours and gets a thanks. But you grow a crop, or you have a mob of ewes that lamb down, and you sell those lambs and watch that B-double load of lambs go out the gate, or that B-double load of grain go out the gate. It's so rewarding, the energy that goes into it. I don't see it as a lifestyle. Yes, it's a business. It's just a really rewarding business, but you've got to do it well. The margins are too tight not to do it well, not to have your finger on the pulse. So as Sarah's outlined, the advisors in your team, you just got to grab them by the shirt and get them in to your kitchen table and have the conversations, and you've got to have them with facts. So for the Lowe family, I probably started working with the Lowe family 2-3 years ago, probably not even, from just another accountant at Murray & Equal that was retiring. And so I'd say that the progress they've made in their confidence in their business and their non-business or non-farming assets they've got, it's been fantastic. As a family, their communication's really good, their decision making's good, and they fess up when they don't know, and they find someone that can help them. So yeah, I think it's been a good part of that, but there's plenty more of that too. They're working well together to grow a great business. So
Great, that's great. And then Sarah, I guess with the budgeting, how far do you guys look into the horizon? Is it sort of 12 months or 2 years, or because I know every farmer's, I guess, different, and a lot of farmers might just be worried about the next 12 months or the next harvest, but a lot of people take a sort of longer term approach as well with their planning.
Absolutely. So we definitely were the average farmer, perhaps just looking for the year. We now 100% are forecasting 1 to 2, and we're aiming for a 3-year projection into the future. We are finding the tool so good at doing that, because it is just pulling all the information, like takes no time at all to pull that information through. And you can take snapshots, and then it's always there to access later. If I need to print it off as a hard copy, like I can have a paper copy, I can have it on my laptop, I can have it on my phone, I can have it on the iPad. So we're using that projection tool, forecasting at least 1 to 2 years ahead of ourselves, which I find really useful when we are discussing as a team where we're going next. Is it like leasing? Is it share farming? Is it purchasing?
Yeah, that's good. And I guess wrapping up, sort of anything else anything else to add? Any sort of tips for any other farmers that might be sort of thinking about more in-depth planning or the importance of it?
No.
Just jump in and give it a go. It's not
Yeah.
it's not as hard as it looks, really. Like, it's quite easy to operate. My probably worst aspect of myself at school was operating a computer, and I can find it quite easy to operate this program. So, yeah, I just would say give it a go. It's pretty easy, user friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will add to that, I didn't find, like, I know sometimes there are systems that everyone's business has. This is another way, another tool, a different way again. I think our business, we like change. We embrace the fact that there are other ways to do things and just have a go.
I think that's good advice. No, thanks very much, guys, for joining in. Really appreciate the input. I'm sure the people listening in really appreciate it as well. Good to see also, clients succeeding in business.
Thanks.
No worries. Thanks, Ben. Cheers for that.
Thanks
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sarah and Will. Thanks, Ben. That's really good.
Cool. So we'll move on. Is that slide working, Matt?
Yeah.
Goals that matter?
Yeah.
Cool. So off the back of Sarah and Will, it's pretty clear that it's important to have sort of a farming plan. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to be proactive. So I guess setting goals that matter the power of a business plan. It's not just a document. It should be a valuable tool that I guess guides your decisions, your strategic decisions. It should sort of encapsulate all the elements of farming business together, so you continue to be competitive long into the future. And it's more, as Sarah and Will alluded to, it's more than just a budget that you flick to the bank once a year or when you need funding. Matt and I get engagements all the time with people saying, I want to buy this dirt, but I need a budget, and we might knock up a 12-month or a 24-month budget, but it's only worth something if you actually pay attention to it and get value from it. And you want to be, if you're increasing your level of debt or capital, you sort of want to make sure that you're across the numbers. I guess going through what I've got down here, the rule of thumb, I guess, is your business plan should be reviewed, I guess, at least annually, or when a significant change, occurs. Like I said, if you're buying dirt or capital investment or succession planning, what it does is it bolsters your internal readiness when things change, but it also, as Sarah and Will alluded to, it gives you credibility to the banks, because when a bank manager sits down and you've got all these KPIs, you've got all your benchmarks, you've got a 24-month business plan, it gives the banks confident that you're across your numbers and they're willing to give you capital. So a few points, I guess, to consider is in a business plan, it should have these sort of 4 or 5 points. The mission and vision statement, critical to a business plan, I think, provides clarity on your long-term goals and also the guiding principles on how you should go about your operation, sort of your North Star, I guess. Your production plan and your marketing strategy goes without saying. I guess you guys are the farmers, but as we mentioned earlier, it's about merging all that information into one localized place, so you can sort of not have to search around and find notes in the car or under the desk. And then financial management is obviously where I guess we can help, and I'll touch on a bit further, but we can obviously help with a 12-month or 24-month cash flow forecast. We can have a look at your capital repayments, and all that sort of stuff is easy with a tool like Figured, because we're sort of cutting out the labor hours of merging actuals to budget. It sort of all feeds in for your cloud-based software. And then risk management as well, basically pinpointing where the risks are in your business, like natural disasters or pest outbreaks or market prices, and how you're going about mitigating those risks, whether it's through insurance or your emergency plans. So hopefully that gives a bit of a, I guess, starting point if you haven't done a business plan before. But anything to add there, Matt, before I move on?
Yeah, I think one of the pieces in that puzzle that's a lot of people are working on at the moment, or we're working with people on, I should say, is discussing interest rates. We've seen interest rates go from 2% to borrow for farmland up to more like 6%, and that's been a massive impact on cash flow in a couple of tough seasons. You can do scenarios with Figured where you say, well, okay, if I was to fix half my debt at an interest rate for 3 to 5 years and leave the other half variable, then what does that look like in my cash flow budget? Or if interest rates move by 3% or 4% or whatever it might be, what does that look like? Sarah mentioned you can do sort of scenarios and save them. So you can do a couple of scenarios, help you make a decision about fixing interest rates or a portion of your debt, fixing interest rate on it. So you've got a bit more cover in the seasons going forward. Things like that are where it fits in to help you make better decisions. And then you can gather the bank manager and get pricing. You can talk to the agronomist about yields, project yields you put in, etc., and share that information with them. So yeah, I think that business planning is a massive opportunity. People, I think everybody is doing business planning. It's just in an elder's book in your pocket or on the back of an envelope, or it's formally done. So yeah, I think that's a key part of where this software fits in, giving you the facts.
Absolutely. And when it comes to like executing on those business plans as well, Sarah, I think you mentioned it before around visiting now the budget monthly. And yeah, just knowing that when it comes to executing, your outcomes are only as strong as the systems you've got really driving those. Do you think moving now to monthly with Figured, like how often would you have been visiting, those budgets in the past before?
Yes, prior, seriously, I would have only visited them if I was seeing an accountant or maybe the bank manager, benchmarking, whereas now that is actually definitely a habit that it's just a habit now.
Just look at it nearly weekly now.
Yeah. Like it's a Monday job for me. So like I start projecting my week knowing exactly where we're at, basically.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Moving on, so obviously Figured gives you, and as Sarah and Will alluded to, they sort of use benchmarking as part of their business plan, and Figured has that sort of capability to give that without you having to calculate anything. Just sort of so long as we've got the numbers feeding in our budgets in place, we can get really good information that can drive our decisions in terms of benchmarking. I've just got sort of 4 quick ones there that we sort of revisit regularly. So your net profit ratio, we sort of find that, working to a goal of a benchmark of 30%, so over 10 years. I mean, I read the AgriWebb State of the Farmer report, and sort of the Australia-wide sort of benchmark average is 20%. And so what net profit, the ratio basically is, it's the gross income over your operating expenses. It's important because after your net profit, you still need to pay things like interest, tax, principal repayments, and invest in more capital. And what we find, I guess, it's these are the areas that low profit businesses struggle with constantly. So, a $10 million in sales sounds great, but if your costs are 9.9, there's not going to be much left over to give to the bank and give to the ATO, let alone funding your own lifestyles. So it's always something you should be keeping in mind. And then we improve it by, looking ways to sustainably increase income, or we're just looking at the Figured planning cash flow and identifying areas where you can reduce costs without sacrificing production, which is really easy to do using Figured. Direct cost ratio, we sort of benchmarking at about, it should be at least less than 35%. It's basically the total direct costs compared to your gross income. And so it's what percentage of your gross income is spent on your direct costs. And it's basically your cost of doing business. The direct costs are things that are directly related to your production, like feed, fert, shearing, etc. And it's important to measure, because I guess, if you're pushing up above 35, 40 to 50, it sort of indicates that there may be an issue with your efficiency on the farm. Like if another farmer down the road sort of down at 30 and you're at 50, you're sort of thinking, well, why am I spending more on inputs? How's he getting better value? And we improve these again by just revisiting your cash flow budget in Figured, and looking at areas to reduce where you can. And then finance covers another important one. Basically, how many times over could your farm pay its debt servicing with its net profit? So it basically measures your margin of safety, I guess, for meeting its debt obligations in any given period. And then obviously, farmers are going to have bad years every now and then, but the the bank's still going to want their interest repayment, capital repayment. The ATO is still going to want to clip their ticket as well. So those obligations still exist nonetheless. So it's important because it lets you know how likely, you know, how sort of resilient your business is to financial hardship should they arise. And sort of 1.5 would be the bare minimum that we were looking at. And debt to equity ratio. And so debt isn't a bad word, but it's important to keep at a healthy level, I guess. Shows the proportion of capital invested by you versus the banks. It's important because a high ratio is obviously risky. And then, you know, on the flip side of that, too little debt means, you know, you're missing opportunities to realize or purchase more debt. And, you know, Captain Obvious hat on, you can improve the finance or debt to equity ratio by reducing debt. But the good thing about working with our clients on figures is that all these ratios sort of automatically calculated, so we can sort of monitor that as we go along. Anything to add, Matt?
No, I think that's good, Ben. Yeah.
And so I guess, how do we go about the planning process? First step, figuring out where you're at. So we might have a look at the previous 12 months to gauge on how things have been going. And we can use those previous 12 months figures as a starting point for our next budget, whether we're going to help you guys do a 12-month or a 24-month budget. The great thing with figures is that you don't have to start from scratch, like Sarah and Will alluded to. It's very easy to sort of start with figures already in your budget, and we do that by just running off your previous 12 months figures. So what that will give you is a good identification of where your starting point is. So all your numbers are going to have all your capital, equipment, financial payments in your budget. It's going to have all your input costs. And so instead of starting with a blank spreadsheet, all we're doing is sort of looking at last year's figures and adjusting it for the current or the next 12 months. And then once you've got the completed budgets and locked in your goals, it's basically important that we're reviewing it regularly. There's no point leaving it there to collect dust. And, you know, Sarah and Will allude to with conversation with Matt, you know, it's just part of their habit now because it's so easy to access. You know, they're looking at it nearly daily. So that's really important. And then, you know, planning ahead for the next cycle. Again, as Sarah Will alluded to, it's really easy to sort of forecast out to 3, 4, 5 years in advance. Anything else to add there as well, Matt?
No, I won't add anything there. I think that planning and pattern of meetings that goes with planning, and having been organised as a family to do that, and also dragging your advisors is just so essential.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on there as well, the point you mentioned around the building the data habits, like it's so key. And we see this being a bit of a downstream benefit from when people start, you know, building in these systems, because if you're already using your accounting system, you are essentially double handling if you're not then using that proactively for farm financial management within the season. If you're then, you know, exporting that out and trying to do an annual plan, you're essentially reusing that data. But as Sarah alluded to before, being able to do that now monthly or even weekly, in some cases, you've transformed what is an accounting system into another system for now forward-looking farm financial management.
And can I just quickly add, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I say that habit, like the Monday jobs, and they don't have to be a Monday, but yeah, going on Xero, reconciling, and then pulling actuals through and looking at different scenarios, and then definitely pulling the actuals through at the end of the month. Like, it is, like, for Will to come on board with that, like, it's just so, it is so time saving. We don't spend hardly any time because it's simple.
It's such a good point. And it's sort of like when you talked about it before, what, like, you've mentioned, both of you, you know, you're adaptive to change. And you talked about potential advice for people who are looking at this that haven't looked at it before, is just to have a crack, you know, because you can't really break things. I think that's pretty key, right? Like, knowing that the actuals are flowing into the system. Will, you mentioned it around the forecasting and figured, you can kind of play around with it, you can change it, can't really muck it up too much, really. And I'd say that's probably the best advice I've heard from other farmers to farmers, is just get in there and have a crack, and ask questions when you get lost, right? Like the support's there.
Yeah. And we will admit we were having a crack at other ways of doing it, and we were losing data and information. So there's another point, yeah, as in, like I truly think I'm more knowledgeable around our business since I've used this.
Yeah, it's not a big blow. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no big words. It's simple as.
That's really, yeah, that's really interesting. Definitely heard that point thrown around in the past. It helps you be more knowledgeable about your business, but it also helps Murray and Ankerville do the same. It's like you're collaborating not just on what has happened, but being able to download everything that has happened with trends to look at what are those goals and what actually makes sense to get across together. And I think it allows you to lean on Murray and Ankerville's expertise in that way when they've got more visibility over what you're trying to achieve. So that means you're going to be getting better outcomes partnering with them in that way.
Absolutely.
And it's easy when it comes to things like tax planning. So, people that work off Excel spreadsheets and, it's getting to April, May, and you're trying to tease April, May, June figures out of them. It's really sort of time consuming and trying to get data out of farmers at times. But, with the Lowe family, when we do a tax planning, all we have to do is log in to Figured, get the budget for June, and then sort of we've got a good idea relatively quickly about where they're sitting from a tax perspective as well. That'd be right, wouldn't it, Matt?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another key point, right? Like it's that collaboration so quick, and it's the same for the banks as well, as you've kind of mentioned already. There's so much friction that's been removed from that process around the data wrangling because it's already there, that more of that time is spent on the proactive nature of what are the outcomes mean and how are we digesting those and getting to about better outcome together on that. Yeah, awesome. I had a little slide to speak through here, and I think most of what's on the screen has been talked about in some way, shape, or form already. Obviously, there's real-time insights and Figured. You're mixing your actuals and your forecast, variance reporting. I just want to touch on the reason or the purpose for Figured to have been created initially is around that farm team collaboration. So it's so good to hear that coming through in the discussions today, bringing everyone closer across farmer, accountants, bank manager across the file, even for the benchmarking piece too. But yeah, for a little bit of background on Figured for those of you who don't know too much about it. So been around for about 11 or 12 years, and Murray and Ankerville were one of our earliest partners in the Australian market. So right back to 2016, they started partnering with us, and it's been a really great partnership, and I've had the pleasure to come out and meet with the team across the South Australian offices, and it's awesome to see the services being provided into the market and using Figured for that. And yeah, we've touched on so many of these points before. I think that the data management piece is pretty key. I do just want to add one bit around getting support. So obviously, as Ben has spoken through, a big part of the work that Murray and Ankerville are doing is setting the scene with Figured and having that business plan ready from the outset. But just for all of you to know that there is a lot of support you can access for Figured. We do have we call it a customer success team. So our headquarters are based out of Auckland. I'm based out of Melbourne. I get around the country quite a bit. But if you have any questions when you're getting started, and as you start using Figured, you can always message the green chat bubble, which is in the bottom left of the screen, and they'll be able to click into your file and help you with any questions you may have. So there's a full team of real people behind that. I actually used to work in that team. And we've also got a little chat bot in there as well, which will give you 24/7 advice and point you in the right direction too. So I think, on that point of just getting in and having a crack, if you get lost, there's always support there that you can get to point you in the right direction. And that's, I think, pretty much everything I had to cover. There is a farmer learning pathway as well. So if you do want to do a bit more formal training online, we will be sending out a link in the follow-up email to this webinar, which you can access that if you kind of want to go away and have a bit of training. But Ben and Matt and the whole Murray and Ankerville team are well equipped to give you that initial training to get up and running. So I might just, I don't know if you wanted to add anything there, Ben. Otherwise, I'll pass it over to Matt.
Yeah. So yeah, just on the back of that and having a crack, yeah, we'll be in touch via email as Matt said, but as part of this, happy to provide a 45 to an hour free session to get into Figured, and Figured's going to come to the party as well and provide a free month. And so I always found with clients it's sort of hard to sort of sit down and talk about the benefits of a product without that person applying it to their own business or life. So looking at Figured with your own numbers is so helpful and so impactful. So yeah, free 45-minute session. We can get you set up for a month on Figured for free using your own data. Figured's compatible with MyOb, Xero, and QuickBooks. Is that right, Matt?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll be in touch, or yeah, give the officer a call or flick me an email on the screen. But just like to thank Sarah and Will for joining in, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. I'll hand it over to Matt now Matt Rout to sign off. Just being mindful of time.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Will. For the people who have attended, thank you very much for taking the time to attend. Business can be a little bit lonely at times. Finding those key advisors and having your people close to you, whether it's agronomist or livestock advisor, banker, accountant, I think grab them by the feet and pull them down to say, this is where we want to go and this is our plan to get there. Having the facts that come from your financial information, and I think one of the biggest gaps in planning within farming businesses is measuring budget to actual results and being honest about why we didn't actually hit budget if we didn't hit budget. So having that information and having those facts is one thing. Sharing them with your key advisors and getting their input in to help you run your business and have a great business is the other. So regardless of what software you use and how you do it and whether you use Figured, encourage people to say, use all the tools you can and use all the people around you can. Be open so that you can run a good business, get the benefits that come with that. So thanks, guys, and yeah, please take up the offer to book a 45-minute session with Ben. He's a good operator, and we're lucky to have him on board at Murray & Ankle. So thanks for your time today.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Matt.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
Yeah.